So he is listed as one of the founders, except that they essentially had to make sure to indicate that he has been removed since he's taken office. A lot of it is like they're working with like treasury notes and stuff like that. So they're trying to tie in a lot of government stuff with the crypto aspect to essentially create like a bridge between traditional finance and decentralized finance. So now you have foreign governments now investing in World Liberty Financial. So I think we're actually seeing real disruption taking place in this financial system.
Welcome back to yet another episode of the CryptoNoobz Podcast, where we talk about crypto and the world around it. I'm your host, NelsonRecardo.X, and I'm joined with my co-host,
Lamont Astwood, aka Crypto Lambo.
And on this episode, we're going to talk everything from Liberty Financial and their new token, and Pudgy Penguins dropping a new video game, and what that means for the NFT market. So first and foremost, Lambo, I wanted to know, tell me, what do you think about this Liberty Financial coin and why its launch is causing such buzz over the community?
All right, so the first thing is Liberty Financial coin. It was issued by World Liberty Financial. That's basically a DeFi platform that was created in 2024, and Donald Trump had a heavy hand in that. So he is listed as one of the founders, except that they essentially had to make sure to indicate that he has been removed since he's taken office. But that's one of the initiatives and companies that he's pushing, especially with this whole new crypto push and this crypto campaign he's on right now. A lot of it is like they're working with like treasury notes and stuff like that. So they're trying to tie in a lot of government stuff with the crypto aspect to essentially create like a bridge between traditional finance and decentralized finance. So they're doing a lot of that. And they have come under a lot of scrutiny, especially from Democratic lawmakers, because Donald Trump and his family owns about 60% or so. I think they have like a 60% stake in it, if I'm not mistaken, like a family entity. So they launched a crypto token this Monday, I think it was on Monday that it launched. And it launched, I think, at a price of like 30 cents. I think it's trading at, let me check it right now. And you got to be careful checking this. Is at 18 cents now, but I actually saw it's like some imitation coin. So that's actually something you got to be very careful, especially like what happened with the Trump meme coin back in the day. So it has taken a hit. It came out, I think, trading at a price of 30 cents, but right now it's at about 18 cents. So it is significantly down, but that's kind of expected. But one of the interesting things that's in place is the original investors, like who were actually connected to the World Liberty Financial company, I think they're only allowed to sell up to 20% of their holdings. So they can't really like dump all the coins in the market and plummet the price. So that's actually a pretty interesting thing that they have in place. But they say Donald Trump's his family wealth from Monday, just from the issuance of the token, went up by like $5 billion. So these guys are literally just, that's generations and generations of wealth there, literally in a week. So it does raise a lot of questions of conflicts of interest, right? Because you have the president of the United States doing this. This isn't like, all right, this guy's just a founder and he's a running a mill scammer or whatever. Like, this is the president of the United States. Like, I think he realized there's a cheat code, and he realized like, hey, no matter what I do, I'm the president. I'm probably never going to get, even if this is like teetering on scam activity for them, and this is not an accusation, I don't think he'll ever get prosecuted or actually face the real repercussions of this. So I think he just is going to ride it till the wheels fall off. And I don't blame him. I might do the same thing. If I was in that position, I could be honest with you. Yeah,
but this sounds like exploitation.
This sounds like exploitation. He's like, wow, you all actually vote for me? All right, watch this. Yeah, like he has said numerous times he wants to make America the crypto capital of the world. And the way how he's moving, if a lot of other countries don't start adopting crypto and blockchain and that type of technology, he's definitely gonna make it on that. Because when you have a government who is friendly towards something like that, and especially if the Republican Party wins another term, that's going to be a whole nother, they're just going to continue it. The most the Democrats could do, they might start something like they start hating on it and start putting restrictions back in place. Because that happens with a lot of two-party countries or two-party states, where one party does it, then the next party comes and undo it. And that's why China is in the position it's in, because China is a one-party state. So China keeps the same goal for 100 years. This isn't like, all right, they'll have their internal voting and internal conflicts, of course, but that's a one-party state essentially. Yeah, Donald Trump, since he's come into power, he has been making good on a lot of his promises, at least in the crypto space. I can't speak to the rest of what's going on, like at the job market, because that's a whole nother question there. But he has definitely been pushing the crypto narrative, which he promised. So I'll give him that.
I will ask though, is this actually going to disrupt traditional finance, or is this just another hype project? Because you know how influencer coin usually go. Usually the influencer would come, promote their coin, and as soon as the coin drops, it either is gonna pump real high before dumping to absolute zero. You saw that with Yeezy coin. Yeezy coin came and it went almost as soon as it came, right? And this has happened over and over and over again. So is this real disruption in traditional finance, or does this seem to be more of a hype project?
I think it is real disruption. I would give it more credence than I would the Trump token, because the Trump token was more so novelty, of who Donald Trump is as you can't even say as a person anymore, as an entity, really, man, a brand. But I would say this does have more like actual use cases. So like it is like dealing with bridging between traditional finance and decentralized finance. Like I mentioned earlier, they are working to like do like, I guess, with treasury notes and stuff like that. So they're actually working alongside government issued security and stuff like that. So I could actually see this being a disruptor, and a way how it could create definitely more integration. I would say if they're able to create integration with crypto and the government level, because they already have like their own stable coin. I think USD1, so they launched that earlier this year. So they already have their own stable coin, when it's backed by government securities. So that's pretty much if you want to talk about safe stable coins. I can't remember how issued is that, but definitely like publicly issued is that. But that's definitely, once it's backed by the government, it's pretty much safe for, you can say, 99%. It's definitely a disruption. Because I think this is gonna bleed from governments. Then you have now, like we talked about it several times, where you have actually banks and actual real investment companies. You actually have traditional investment companies who are actually starting to, yeah. Like you actually have the BlackRocks and the Vanguards and all that, who are starting to issue crypto projects. So now you have foreign governments now investing in World Liberty Financial. So this is real disruption. I think we're actually seeing real disruption taking place in this financial system.
But with this real disruption, right? What risk or challenges do you see coming out of this thing? This is I want you to keep in mind, although Liberty Financial Coin might actually have some decent use cases, this is still a coin that is backed or has a lot of influence from a particular individual and his family. And that particular individual just happens to be a world leader and in charge of an entire country that very much has a lot of pull and influence. So what risk and challenges do you see this coin having for the everyday user?
Well, I can be honest, I haven't done a deep dive into the systematic operations of it, like how like the protocols itself, to understand it on a really detailed level. But one of my things, and this is actually probably a risk, is getting caught up on the fact that it's connected to Donald Trump and ignoring all the other factors that shouldn't matter. That is something what I think a lot of investors need to be very aware of. And whenever you're dealing with someone like Donald Trump, Donald Trump himself is a risk. You don't know what he's going to wake up and say. You don't know what's going to happen, because he is a very controversial figure. He's the type of person, he wakes up with something on his mind. It's going to make headways. You don't know his relationship is going to be like with the partners who, like other governments and all that, who partner with World Liberty. So you have a lot of political risk. Then you will have to know like how it's being managed. Like if he is just using his own little cabal or his own network and not actually getting the best people to actually structure the project properly, then you have a governance risk and basically like a structural risk. Because like when some people just hire their friends, but their friends ain't really the best person for the job. So that could be something what I really could see concern with as far as like Donald Trump, because that's essentially what World Liberty Financial is. 60% owned by the Trump entity. That's a family business, essentially. Like, that's what it is. It's a family business.
Billion dollar business
Yeah.
once again, by the president of the United States. I love how you said, we can't ignore those actual applications of this Liberty coin. But at the same time, I must say that because this is the president, who is also a very, very smart businessman doing it, I can't help but feel a bit worried for those who have invested inside of the coin. And I'll be honest when I say, I don't think another president is going to get this particular opportunity. I think that, respectfully, he saw some loopholes. He saw some openings. No president has ever had the ability or the know-how and the ability to just go and tap into this new system. Because once again, crypto is still a relatively new system. It is still catching on. It's still building. And I think essentially what he did is he saw an opportunity. He really did take it. I'm so sure that they're going to create some sort of laws about it when he is out of office, if he becomes out of office.
Yeah.
They got to vote that tight.
Yeah, when that term come, and like I said, that's especially like if the Democratic Party wins the next election, that gravy train, they could put a little stop to that. Because imagine you got to sit back and just watch your ops get rich. Like, you know how that feel? You know how that feels? Imagine being like a Democratic politician, Nelson, and you just sit back. The dude who beat you, you watching him rake in millions and billions of dollars, right? But as you was talking and you said no other president ever did something like that, my mind went straight on Argentina, and I was like, this could be a very disruptive force, or this could end up like Argentina. When Argentina launched a meme coin, right now, their president, I think it's their president, Javier, I think, I forgot his last name. I did a video on him and all. I think he's still under investigation for that. Like, that was a whole debacle. Like, the president of a country rug pull you all that. You know how much saying that is? Like, but I don't think Donald Trump is going to willingly rug pull like people like no, because he has an ego, right? And all of us should have some level of ego, but he has a massive ego. And for him to do that, he has to live with people saying, oh yeah, like people talking bad about him and his project. He's the type of person, whatever he's connected to, he wants it to succeed. So he can rub it in your face that, hey, look, y'all say it's going to fail, but it succeeded. So I don't think someone like Donald Trump is going to purposely like issue a scam, because the fallback and the shame is going to be too much for him, like for someone like him. Like, he'd rather prove you wrong. If everyone's saying it's a scam, he'd rather prove everybody wrong. Like, that's the type of person he is. And in a situation like this, that's actually a good thing, But yeah, like, hey, Donald Trump is an interesting person, This whole thing, this has been like a TV show watching this political system.
There's a whole Netflix series, man, like how to get rich as the president of the United States. This is interesting. And when we're actually talking about, impact and some of the ways that cryptocurrency and Web3 is changing. You remember NFTs? Remember how a couple of years ago they were the big thing, and then
you told me to what the NFT Pudgy Penguins? You told me to get
Pudgy Penguins.
They did an airdrop. They sent it to me. As soon as I got it, the price plummeted because everybody sold off their airdrops. I bought some the other day. When you did bring it up to me. Yeah, I think they look like they're doing good compared to everybody else. Compared to all the other NFT projects, because right now, I remember when NFTs, they were going for millions of dollars. And it's insane. Like, the value is just plummeted, really.
And that's the thing. Once again, so this is not any sort of advertisement for Pudgy Penguins. And we are letting everyone know that we both own Pudgy Penguins. This is not any sort of endorsement or anything like that. No paid advertisement or anything like that. But I really think that it's interesting how Pudgy Penguins, something that was a well-known NFT project back more inside the NFT hype days, actually survived the NFT winter. Because as everyone knows, there was a period NFTs were really really big, and NFTs are going for millions upon millions of dollars, right? For those who don't know, an NFT stands for a non-fungible token. These tokens were like digital collectibles that you would pay for. And when you pay for these digital collectibles, they come with different benefits like access to certain communities. Sometimes they would give you like, drops with their tokens, or maybe you might get some real world physical items. But the whole point of the whole NFT type, hype, the whole point of the NFT hype was with these NFTs, you are now able to basically buy them for one price and you could sell them for a whole lot more money than what you bought them for. That's essentially what people were doing. Pudgy Penguins was also a part of that. But there was a whole NFT winter where all the NFTs basically dropped. Like everything, because people were getting so tired of the scams and the rug pulls. Like someone brings an NFT project, you're paying millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars for what is essentially like a profile pic. What is this?
One thing you realize about that is it really is because of the barrier of entry, and it just got so easy to make it. Everyone was just trying to be the new Bored Ape, and they just was buying all these new apes and new monkeys and all this stuff was coming out. This elephant, this gorilla, this lion, and all that. And it was like a lot of it was just random stuff that had no use case. It had no community behind it. But I didn't mean to cut you off, but as you was going into it, I want to ask you this question. What made you realize that Pudgy Penguins was going to be set out apart from everybody? Because I knew when the NFT thing was booming, like every industry, the cream will have the rise to the top. So I used to tell people 99% of it is pure foolishness, and you will have the 1% that's going to make sense. So are there any things that you saw in Pudgy Penguins that made you think like, all right, this is actually a viable project?
So what made me, so as I said, like, in crypto, I think NFTs is my favorite part of crypto. That was the part of crypto that I really love and enjoy. That's actually one of the reasons I even got into crypto, because I was more interested in NFTs. Pudgy Penguins did something I didn't see any NFT project do, right? During the NFT winter, when projects are falling apart and looking to create use cases, because initially NFTs were basically this profile pick first, use case second. Pudgy Penguins was actually failing, but they actually got underneath a new leadership. And when they got underneath the new leadership, the thing that signaled that this is going to be different is they actually did a brand partnership with Walmart. And now you started to see like these Pudgy Penguin toys in Walmart. And when I saw news of that, I was like, what's going on here? This seems to be a little bit different, right? Then all of a sudden, we're seeing more partnerships with Pudgy Penguins. You know what really got me to that place of, yo, these guys are doing something a bit different? On WhatsApp, you know how they have like stickers and gifts inside of WhatsApp? When I saw that, looking through like a gifts to like send to a friend, I saw Pudgy Penguins. Like, you know, the Pudgy Penguins IP. When I saw Pudgy Penguins on there, I couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe it. So I was like, okay, cool. They're doing something a bit different. I'm not seeing this from any sort of other NFT project. Then when I actually did a little bit more research on what I see going on with them, like they're really going hard in the partnership part of things. I recently saw a partnership with them in NASCAR. They are creating books. They are creating these shorts. They're going harder more on things like TikTok and Instagram. Remember, Twitter is where you see most of these NFTs live. Twitter is where you see most of crypto lives, right? Yeah. But it's when people are leaving Twitter or leaving the crypto hype space to actually go into more real world use cases. I think Pudgy Penguins is a masterclass in how you actually get out of the whole closed Web3 space and actually bring it to a more natural space where all the other billions of people actually are. Because essentially, crypto is, you know, there are some barriers of entry. There are some technicals that we're still trying to figure out how to make it more simple. Pudgy Penguins made it simple. They even dropped a whole new video game. You know?
Yeah. That's actually Some really good insight you gave. And like you said earlier, what really caught my attention, you said you walk into Walmart and you saw they had the Pudgy Penguin toys. So that means that they had real world assets. And some people might say, oh, it's a toy. No, that's a real world asset right there. Um, and when you see that they're actually producing real stuff, that's something that a lot of investors and a lot of people, that's something they want to look into. With most NFT projects you see, is almost like always a potential idea. It's always the idea, but you rarely see them actually execute real world stuff. They'll talk about a game that's always in development. Talk about some that they always plan to do. But when you start seeing the execution, and even it doesn't even have a big execution at first, because they had to reach a point where Walmart start taking the toys, because Walmart is not gonna let you sell anything inside there. I mean, like anything. They're actually going to vet those products. So that was actually pretty interesting. But where do you see Pudgy Penguins going now? Like, because I bought some, I'm kind of interested. Do you think, like, as far as NFTs, because I don't really track the values of the different NFTs, would you say that Pudgy Penguins is kind of like the pack leader right now compared to like a lot of other projects? Or like
I would say that even if they aren't, I would say that Pudgy Penguins has positioned itself to be the pack leader. I do think Bored Ape Yacht Club is possibly still the most well known. But in terms of real world utility, I still think Pudgy Penguins is at the top. No other NFT project is giving as much value to the regular user like Pudgy Penguins. As I said, Pudgy Penguins created not only their community is called the Huddle, right? They created IP. So everyone who owns the Pudgy Penguins NFT owns their intellectual property, right? Meaning you essentially own part of the business, right? Yeah. So it's more or less working almost like a share. You own part of the business just because you own the NFT. So as the brand grows and the NFT, aka your share, grows, it's going to grow with it, right? On top of that, these strategic partnerships, as I said, they're partnering with NASCAR, they're partnering with this company, that company. They have their own token. Once again, they have their own token that also goes up in price as their hype goes in. So even if you don't have the NFT, you could have the token, and the token will go up in value as well. And then they just recently dropped a game. They actually dropped 2 video games this year, right? One is Pudgy Party, right? Pudgy Party is the latest one to drop, and what it is like this video game where it's like a battle royale style video game where you just go as a penguin. Once again, the intellectual property, and you could basically battle it out with people. Now, this one isn't so much play to earn because, well, I do think that there's an NFT element to it, like where I think what you could actually, I need to play it myself, but I think like you could either buy an NFT to add to your penguin, or you could sell it or something like that. Something's going on there, but it isn't really as important, unlike a lot of other crypto projects, like crypto video game projects, where it's like, although it's a crypto video game, it's more crypto than video game, So it's like that problem where it's like you as a gamer want to actually enjoy the gaming experience. Yeah. And these crypto games, we don't care about the gaming experience. We care about getting the coins after. So Pudgy Penguins actually flipped the script and said, okay, cool. In Pudgy Party, we're just going to be, the goal is for the user to have a really good and fun time. Then they also have a more crypto based video game. I think it's called Pengu Clash. With Pengu Clash, it's a game on the Ton network. So basically Telegram, Ton is Telegram's coin. So basically, you just go through their Telegram, and then you could play that game, and you could actually get coins from playing that game. But yeah, I think what Pudgy Penguins is doing is totally amazing. Once again, I am not a Pudgy Penguin spokesman. This is not us trying to tell you to purchase Pudgy Penguins or Pengu Coin or any of that. It was not. Please do your own research. This is just me thinking, out of all the NFTs that had gone down, Pudgy Penguins did an excellent job in making sure to revive itself,
Yeah. Yeah. And you actually, I was going to ask a question, but you actually answered it because I was going to ask you, like, how did they build such strong community? And when you mentioned earlier that basically every penguin acts is like IP. So when you essentially have a share of something, you're going to work harder for that thing. So that actually makes sense, you know, and when you have so much different projects, products, like video games and all that based around it, it'll always keep the name in circulation because right now they could probably drop a different type of game. They could do all type of stuff. Like when you're dealing with like video games, there's a lot of stuff you could do. And yeah, that's the thing there with NFTs. Like when NFTs first really started making waves, I always was like, if these do have real use cases, if they can be executed properly. But when you had celebrities who was just dropping NFTs and they was just dropping an NFT to drop it, right? But I was like, for example, let's say like a certain musician, right? They would drop an NFT. Some of them would just drop an NFT to say they have an NFT, right? Then I was like, I think some of them might have did this, but I was like, if I was a musician, I would say, okay, I would have different tiers of NFTs, right? I would basically use it as a pass. More so like I wouldn't really do all like the monkey stuff with it. I would just do it as like a pass or so. So like if you have a bronze pass, so that means you can show up to 3 of my concerts per year free or something like that. If you have a silver, you could show up to like 6 or 10 or whatever. Then if you have gold, you can show up to like 20 of my shows or whatever, free of charge. And obviously they would be trading online, I guess, amongst my fans or whatever. And my performance as an artist and how I chart is probably gonna also work to inflate those NFT prices as well. So I would have to do stuff from my end to keep my NFT going. But a lot of people are just making them just to make them. They didn't really have like no real use case behind them. Just like this is a digital collectible, even though you could just screenshot this is a picture. Here's my NFT. You see? I always look at it like that. And I always just tell people, and you touched on it a lot with Pudgy Penguins actually look like they're executing very well from this front. I always tell people video games are like the macaroni to NFTs cheese. Like they have to work together in order for it to be perfect. Because I grew up playing Pokemon, right? I used to love playing Pokemon, Red, Blue, you know, Crystal, all that. Crystal is still probably one of my favorites, you know, when you think retroactively. And I was thinking about it. I was like, what if they had, even like with the trading cards, I was like, what if they had a NFT to represent actual trading card? Like when you get a pack, they give you the cards, the physical cards along with an NFT to say you own that. So God forbid you lose your card. Someone steals it, it burns up in a house fire. You could go and redeem that from the actual Pokemon card company or something like that. Then, what you say with video games, imagine if every Pokemon you had in a video game was an NFT. I guess people would complain because it's like, you ain't really earning it. You just paying the, you just paying to get the good Pokemon. But it's like, Mewtwo ain't too rare if everybody could catch a Mewtwo. I want to be where only X amount of people can have a Mewtwo.
What I would say, just to add to your point, right? What I would say when you were talking about the musicians, I was trying to figure out which musician it was who they actually released their album as NFTs. I think it was Tory Lanez.
Yeah.
I think it was when Tory Lanez actually released his album as an NFT. I can't remember how much money he made, but it was so much money that he had to go out on a rant to say, y'all didn't understand. I've been telling y'all this. This is the future. Y'all didn't want to listen to me. But you see, like I'm way too far ahead of you guys. And this is like, listen,
Yeah,
you know when someone was right? You know when someone was right with someone and with something and they just had to remind you, like I told y'all. And just as I said, NFTs, it went down because it was a lot of hype projects that were basically just scamming a whole lot of people. And I do think that the crypto space as a whole is now moving to where it's much more about use cases and the value that you bring to the table, right? But NFTs as a technology has always been something that easily made a lot of sense. You just had to bring the value. As I said, with the IP strategy, you could create a brand, allow other people to own a piece of your brand, right? You could create a brand in the form of different NFTs. It was not allow other people to own part of your brand. And now, whereas your brand increases because people are going to buy the NFTs based on how much they believe in you, right? You easily now create a community that now sees some sort of, whether or not in the beginning they really want to sell it or not. That's an easy way that you could either get some money so that you could get some traction. The next thing I really did like about NFT projects, although a lot of them really didn't, weren't really honest with it, is I really love to see roadmaps, like to actually show me where you're trying to go. Even if you don't fully get there, I think that's as good as a business plan for investors. Let us know where are we trying to go with this? What is the next steps and what's not? And I think that it was really understandable. I think that it was really fun to see, okay, what did you actually have in plan for the money that I'm investing into your project? And even from there, even inside normal investments, sometimes you don't get the full scope of where they're going, But yeah, I think NFTs, do you think NFTs are going to make a comeback though?
I think, boy, that's a good question. I think it can, but like you say, it does have to be the right companies behind it. Especially like I mentioned earlier with that gaming space, because I have seen NFTs like years ago, right? It's like they still was always in the development stage. Like I say, if they actually got to the execution to say, this is a video game. Let's put it like this. Let's say, all right, monsters, right? Let's say is an NFT collection with a bunch of different monsters. I could have Lamont's monster fight Nelson's monster, right? Now, I have to buy my NFT and that'll be my monster. I could buy different NFTs so I could have a collection of monsters, right? You could have your NFTs and monsters and we could put them in like 1v1 battles or whatever, right? I was like, something as simple as that could catch on if you have like the right people behind it. God forbid a streamer plays it on stream. Like something like that. What you was gonna say?
This gonna be our whole business plan, y'all. New monsters coming soon.
Yeah. Maybe Mike could do that. New monsters. Yeah, and set up little tournaments and say, hey, the best 16 win some Ethereum or Solana or whatever. So we could attract the best players and we could, that's how it is. We could have a champion, tell someone come, challenge them, then keep it going. We could run this like the UFC. But yeah, I think some projects are gonna, I don't think the complete industry is dead. I think all the gimmicky foolishness, that's pretty much been weeded out. I think anything that comes now that gains traction, I think it's going to be good companies that come and gain traction. And like you mentioned, people like to see roadmaps. And that's basically the concept. I mean, not really a concept, but that's basically just transparency. People like to see what's going on. They don't like to be left in the dark on your next plan. So they know, like, all right, when you set a deadline and you say, like, all right, by September 30th, you guys are supposed to do this. So we're going to follow up with you on that, but that's all it is, transparency. But I think certain NFTs are still, I think the concept of it still is viable, but it just will have to take the right companies and the right people backing it for the work.
So looking forward, what does the success of projects like Liberty Coin and Pudgy Penguins tell us about the next wave of crypto adoption?
I think what that tells us definitely is, I don't know why my mind went on this, but I was like, regulation is going to be a big part of it, which for years I actually advocated. I was actually a supporter of crypto regulation because with more regulation comes more adoption. You're going to see much more of the traditional money who was kind of like seeing this thing as like the Wild West. They're going to start to get more behind it. But what this does, it actually gives it like real in-world and real use cases. So people who don't even like delve into that side of the world can see, all right, these are real projects, real products, real results. That's something what people want to see. They want to see real results. So I think with advent of World Liberty and Pudgy Penguins, even though they might seem like they're not related, I think all of them work to push the crypto industry forward. I think all of them are working to push this industry forward, and it's going to be a benefit.
I agree. I think, honestly, my personal opinion is I do think that we're moving away from the quote unquote golden era of crypto. The reason why I say this is because in the beginning, there was still a lot of speculation. There was a lot of distrust. Of course, there was a lot of scams, and it really was the wild, wild west, right? The reason why I call it the golden era was despite all those, terrible things going on, it still was an era where you could have thrown money to almost any coin, and it was definitely possible you could turn $100 into like a million overnight. That was super, super possible. Now it's not going to be like that anymore. I think that we're moving into the silver era where there's still going to be money to be made. There's still going to be a lot of opportunities because it's still early.
Yeah.
I would say that it is still early, but now is going to be a lot more discretion. There's going to be a lot more research, and only projects that actually have actual utility or use cases or can reason why people should invest in it would actually boom. So that's my take on it. Yeah. So once again, I'd just like to thank you, Lamont, for getting up another awesome podcast. I'd like to thank all of the viewers once again for coming to the CryptoNoobz Podcast and, just learning more about crypto from us. I encourage you guys to like, share, and subscribe on the YouTube, as it does help us to grow and does help us to create even more and better content for you guys. So with that, we're going to just tell you guys a wonderful good night.